In this video I would like to talk about a specific part of the Trigun community that has been very confusing to me. Every now and then I come across these tweets from people that somehow convinced themselves that in Trigun Stampede, Studio Orange, quote-unquote, turned Elendira into a child, and even erased the fact that Elendira is a trans woman. Though I totally understand why these fans are concerned, I don't get what exactly they are even basing this on. Because so far, not a single person of them actually provided any evidence as for how Trigun Stampede has gotten rid of this important detail about Elendira. Obviously one elephant in the room that needs to be addressed are the changes made to Elendira in Trigun Stampede. But given the nature of Trigun Stampede, these are very easily explained. A major critic point for many fans has been the fact that they turned Elendira into a child, but that is not the case. To explain it on a grander scale, what Trigun Stampede has shown us so far is a revamped version of Trigun, that remixes the timeline of events, and introduces characters to us, that aren't fully developed yet. Vash the Stampede hasn't his huge of $60 billion yet. Meryl is still a rookie that just started her career as a journalist. Under the wing of her own mentor Roberto De Niro, the City of July still existed. That and many other details make it clear what is going on. Trigun Stampede functions as a beginning for these characters. And same goes for Elendira. Instead of just introducing her without any explanation, Trigun Stampede decided to show us the origins of Elendira the Crimsonnail. Where she comes from, and why she is so strong. Don't get me wrong, I too much prefer the version of Elendira we get to see in Trigun Maximum. But obviously we aren't supposed to be there yet. That Elendira hasn't been erased, she simply hasn't shown up yet. And what many may not realize, but before the last episode of Trigun Stampede's first season aired, the director of Trigun Stampede, Kenji Muto, shared this sketch of Elendira the Crimsonnail, a older-looking Elendira, carrying her iconic briefcase crossbow, reminiscent of a panel from the manga, also seen in the image. And within post he also wrote about how, the older Elendira gets, the stronger she will become. Stronger to an extent that even the Punisher, Nicholas D. Wolfwood, can't compete with. That Elendira has a body modified by nanomachines. That the battle we saw in episode 10 was only preliminary, and that there will be a quote-unquote rematch someday. I've also come across people questioning the idea of Elendira being quote-unquote turned into a science experiment of sorts, and though I understand how critical it may seem, if the only trans character in a series is a person that went through such science experiments, if you think about Elendira in the manga, and compare her to the likes of Vash, Knives, Wolfwood or Livio, then the most logical explanation for her immense powers, that are so strong that she is the only character that needs to wear special body armor to restrict and control her powers, would in fact be the result of having some sort of biological relation to Knives, or her having went through the same experiments as Wolfwood and Livio. And now to the bigger issue at hand, this idea that Trigun Stampede somehow erased Elendira's quote-unquote transness. Obviously so far Trigun Stampede never once made direct mention of Elendira being trans, and although I understand the desire for them to do just that, them not doing it, doesn't equal with a denial of it. What do we actually know, that is based on factual information? Well, Yasuhiro Naito, the creator of Trigun, once made a tweet stating that Elendira is neither male nor female. In other words, Elendira was born without a gender or sex, since she wasn't born like a normal human, but cloned from human and plant DNA, which also explains her powers. So at the very least we can say that in Trigun Stampede, Elendira isn't a cis woman, something that many fans have accused this version of Elendira being. So, Elendira was born neither male nor female, yet despite being neither, she obviously adapted a typical female name, typical feminine clothing and makeup, typical girlish behavior, etc. etc. Basically, one could make the assumption that this person did in fact make a transition to being female. I admit, as a cis male I may not have much say in this matter, so anyone more qualified to do so can gladly correct me if I'm wrong, but if a male can transition to female, and a female can transition to male, then shouldn't a genderless person be able to make such a transition? That aside, one important detail we should also pay attention to, is Elendira's voice actor. Elendira's Japanese voice actor is Ayumu Moraes. Elendira has a male voice actor, that puts on a feminine voice for this role. Aside from that, in the Portuguese dub of Trigun Stampede, they casted Louis Campos for the role, who is trans non-binary. So, if Elendira would be a cis female in Trigun Stampede, then obviously there wouldn't be a reason for such specific casting choices. Sure, cis women have been casted in this role in other languages, but I would blame the lack of representation within this field of work on that. So, given all of these factors, everything, aside from them not straight up telling us like the manga did, speaks for Elendira being a trans woman in Trigun Stampede. And with that, comes my question. To everyone that is convinced that Elendira isn't trans anymore in Trigun Stampede, and believes they need to call Studio Orange out for it, what are you basing those claims on? What exactly speaks against Elendira being trans? How did Studio Orange and Yasuhiro Naito quote-unquote erase and got rid of the trans representation in Trigun that you people accuse them of doing? Thanks for watching, yours truly, the Anibot.